right. There. Got Matlab here. Go ahead and sign in real quick. Yeah. All right, so welcome everyone to your computational tools midterm review. You guys have your midterm tomorrow, so I recommend get a piece of paper and something to write with. We're gonna go over some things. I've taken a look at your exam, and I'm gonna relay information that you've covered over the course of the semester, and hopefully some of it will help you out with your exam. I'm not going to give you any answers, but I will give you the tools necessary of content you guys covered to do well. So the goal is you guys should all get A's tomorrow. All right? Who's not going to get an A? No, that's not what I want to hear, man. All right. We'll finish it, let everyone get it signed in. I'm going to go ahead and shut the door. All right, before I begin, does anyone have any questions they got to get off their chest right now or whatever? All right, cool, awesome. All right, so basically so far throughout your guys' semester, you've covered two programs, Excel and Matlab. Excel should be kind of new to everyone still. You know, I'm assuming that you guys didn't cover it too much in K-12, you know, basically your high school. You might have did some sort of coding, so I think you guys have a little bit more experience coding over Excel. Now, if I'm wrong, go ahead and say so. If I accidentally say something, making an assumption either you guys don't know or do know something, and you need me to explain it, just go ahead and say, hey, can you explain that a little bit more? Don't be afraid to interrupt. But yeah, ask questions. This is a little bit more lax environment than a classroom. All right, so we all clear on that? Cool, all right. So real generally, we're gonna start from Excel from a top-down view. Excel is composed of a few main parts. You have your ribbon up top, okay? But when you first open up Excel, you have what's called, anyone? Sign in, man. So what do you call this when you first sign it? When you first start your program? A workbook. A workbook. All right. And a workbook is composed of worksheets. So, and you could add multiple worksheets, which if you can see, if you add on the bottom left-hand corner. All right. I just added 2 more sheets, so I have a total of 3 worksheets. All right. Each worksheet is comprised of vertical columns, which are broken down with adjacent rows. All right. So when you have an intersection of a row and column, you have what's called a cell. All right. Each cell is its own little entity where you can create a function or variable, store a variable, or do other tasks that's necessary. So it's important that you understand the basic structure of Excel. What's a worksheet, what's a workbook, what's a cell, what's a column and a row. All right. Give me 1 second to get that right. All right. So we covered a few things in class. So, you know, when we sit there, we create a variable, we assign either a hard-coded number into it, like for example, 34. Or we create a function, 2 plus 2, where we get an answer of 4. Or when we do create a function, we can make references and hard code it. So we can put a direct input or a variable or a reference into a function, all right? So your function, again, could reference a cell or you put it as direct input, all right? One thing I forgot to, so you guys all know you get 3 sheets of paper, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for your exam tomorrow, you get 3 sheets of paper that you can write your notes on.
How many questions would be in the exam?
So right now, it's about 5 sections. Some sections have 10 questions, multiple choice questions. Some there's nothing like directly fill in the blank, but they're a little bit more complex than just a plain multiple choice. It's gonna change, so I don't wanna give you an exact number, but it's pretty much a 50-minute exam, and I'd expect you guys to take about 50 minutes to do it. So, there's a couple of questions that I personally thought were easy. Some maybe a little bit on the tougher side, but overall, I think it's a fair exam. So, everything that you've done in your homework, your labs, your class, all covered in lecture, is gonna be there. So, I would sit there, definitely 100%, just kind of glance over the lecture notes that Professor Yaya put out. So answer your question?
Yeah, would we have to write a code say, or is it all just one?
You don't necessarily have to write a code, like a Matlab code. But having said that, if you saw code or a function in Excel, you gotta kind of know what's going on with it. So you gotta be able to interpret a code.
Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Let's go ahead and sign in real quick too. Real quickly, what I said was that we have 3 pages on the exam. Figure 50 minutes, to do the exam. The only thing I really covered was, it's on YouTube. I'll put it on YouTube. You can watch it, whatever you missed.
Okay.
All right, it's not too much. Okay, so I basically went over the functions. The one thing to remember is referencing. It's probably been focused a lot in Excel. So remember what your different referencing is. So if I sit there and have this particular cell, okay, let's see if I can zoom in actually. Okay, see, everyone sees okay, right? Everyone sees fine? All right, so if I have this cell and I reference in this case E7, all right, and if I push F4, it automatically populates the dollar signs. Dollar signs does
It
Like-
locks it.
Locks that one in there.
correct. It makes an absolute reference. So it's big money for you guys, dollar signs, There's 3 different kinds. That, your cell's comprised of rows and columns. So when I sit there, remove one dollar sign, in this case, hotkey F4, I'm making the row variable, or I'm sorry, the column variable, and the rows locked in at 7. Again, they're the alternate, where the columns locked in and the rows variable, and they're removed. But basically, understand what referencing is and what the dollar signs are for absolute referencing. All right, so so far in Excel, you guys have covered what functions? So if you think of homework 1,
Solver.
it's not a function. So average is 1, okay?
Sum.
All right. God, I hope I spelled that right. That'd be embarrassing. All right, sum,
Max, min.
max, min.
If. A10. A10
All right. So if is a function, but it's a logic-based function, so I'm gonna take that out for right now. But A10 2, all right, count,
Degree.
what was the other one?
Degree.
Yep, degree, you can say is another one. Think about like more homework, what you had to do for homework, maybe a project. VLOOKUP's one.
What was it called? The
PMT.
V lookup, H lookup.
Yeah, VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, I kind of put those kind of in the same thing. So PMT is another one. But what was one that you guys did on the project?
FV, future
FV,
value.
future value. So those, any other ones? Yeah, I think there's like mean,
Standard deviation.
yeah, standard deviation,
Yeah.
right, STD. It's either statistics or nursing, one of the two. Yeah, that's, there you go. Close. All right. So there's some, anyone think of any other ones? All right, I'm gonna tell you about half of them you gotta know. And when I say when you gotta know, so if we sit there and look, we'll take for example,
Can you tell us which half?
sure,
Like which ones?
half of these. All right, no, I can't tell you which ones exactly. Let's see, PMT is a good one. All right, my advice to you, when you sit there, do your sheet, okay, what I would personally do is I would sit there, take a command, and just like how it kind of says in Excel, if I want to use payment, I would take a piece of real estate on my paper, write PMT, and I would write down the rate. And I'd write into something that I can understand. Rate, if you don't remember, or if this doesn't make sense to you, you go up to the search, come up top here, and they're all fully explained here. This is one of the crutches that you guys got. You gotta kind of make work where you don't have access to that help. You know, it kind of sucks that you guys don't have the capability to do it, like your exams on the program itself. But on the same note, it's kind of like a badge of honor to do it on paper, so good and bad to it. Anyhow, so rate, you can write interest rate, all right? That's what I would understand, you know, interest percent. If you read it, it goes on a, whatever basis you could sit there, write it down for you to understand. The next is the NPR. So number of payments. All right. Payments. And then the final one, principal value, I believe it is. Or present value. All right. So I'd put principals. All right. And that's what I kind of understand, or I write it down, so when I sit there and look at my sheet, I can look and say, hey, whether it's payment, whether it's VLOOKUP, whether it's average, whether it's ATAN2, you know, think about what's been stressed throughout the semester, and kind of say, hey, those are the ones I gotta know for sure, you know? So,
Question.
yeah. Interest percent. So the PMT command, like you did on your homework, but I wrote down the options that I need to put down kind of so I understand, you know? You don't copy this, unless you understand this, you can look at it and say, okay, I get that. Don't copy it, you know, I wouldn't use PV, you know? That doesn't click to me. So I'd write down principal, which is a term I would understand instead. There's a difference between ATAN and ATAN2. Know the difference there, you know? Which, if we look real quick, you know, when we just type, we put ATAN2, we see it's asking for our X number first, and then Y. And then if we go to ATAN itself, it's just asking for a number. All right? to kind of understand when you're doing ATAN, why it's doing it, and kind of the principle of it. You have your 4 quadrants. Anyone have trig recently? Alright. So there was a saying that, you know, for what's negative, negative, you know, here you have both negative or both positive. Here you have negative cosine, so we'll put a sine cos. Alright, here they're both negative. Here your sine's negative, so. Alright, and I forgot what the saying is. You could probably look it up online. It's a after my time type thing. But understand, if you do have 2 negative numbers or your cosine's negative, which quadrant it's supposed to be in. So if you get an answer and you put in ATAN, you know, if the question is, for example, ATAN 2, negative 3/2, we'll say 1/2. Which quadrant is that supposed to be in? Okay?
Yeah, that's an unknown too.
Alright, so this is like
Bottom right.
basic, you gotta know that type thing. Alright, so VLOOKUP is one that you've used multiple times. You guys used it in lab, you used it in homework. I can almost guarantee you that's probably gonna be on there. So think about what you've covered multiple times, you know? So know what they are. So VLOOKUP, same thing. That's one, kind of understand what all the options are. And so if you put in, like, if there is a command and you have to look at it, what you would expect. So if you sit there saying, if I reference this cell, I would expect to say 34 is gonna come out, you know? As I mentioned before, your functions, you create formulas. I should have just done whatchamacallit. You create formulas either by referencing cells or directly inputting a number. Just like in here, in the first part, I reference a cell. Second one, I directly inputted a number. Let's see what else Excel. So I had to bring my notes. I had to write notes before this. All right, so Excel-wise, just go over your labs, go over your homework, kind of glance over the notes. I wouldn't be surprised to see something that you've seen on your lab and homework in one way or another, kind of regurgitated or reapplied for you guys on your exam. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. But is there any questions regarding Excel? No questions, not one? You guys are all experts, you gods in Excel?
Not even close.
Not even close? Any concerns about Excel?
Could you
Yes.
know how to use VLOOKUP? I tried. Yeah.
So VLOOKUP, I don't know if it's better to just bring up the homework. We'll do this here. So VLOOKUP, 10, 20, let's see, we could drag 60, and then we'll assign A, B, C, D, E, F, F plus. Kind of a joke, sorry. Alright. Then we'll just say here 30, no. 5 should work okay. Alright. So if we do our V lookup, alright, V stands for vertical, alright? We're gonna look up our first initial value, alright? And then we're gonna apply it to this array. Alright, array is another word for a matrix, another word for a table, but array, alright? And then in the end, well, I gotta lock that too. So because I'm gonna drag it down, I'm gonna wanna lock it. In the end, I wanna sit there, produce the second value. Is it because I'm over the number? Yeah, well, under, let's do this. And then 55. So I was outside of the range, that's why I had an NA there. But to kind of quickly go over it again. All right, so when you put in your command V lookup, what you want to do is consider this number here. All right? But what do you want to consider it to? You want to consider this to this table where you have 2 columns of values. Your first column, Excel has no clue what's what. Okay? We know what's what. We know this is what we want to look up. We know this is the end product. You know, so if someone gets an 11, they're going to get an 8. Okay? We know that we want to take this, we want to apply it to this table, just kind of reference this table, see what would come out. And so when it finds it, it says, all right, 11 falls between this range, so it's this row here, okay? And then we wanted to output the second column. If had it been a third column, we could have said third column, so on and so forth. So that's where, when this finishes up, you get an A here, you get an A, what was it? E, and then whatever there, B. Yeah. Yeah? Alright. Any other questions? Now's the time to ask. Alright, and then just kind of go over the commands you use, and just understand. You know, just like I said, take a little piece of real estate, you get 3 pages. Write down the stuff you used, how to do it. If you did a help, what would come up on it? You know? You guys more than likely already know it, but it's a lot different situation, environment when you're in a test, and it's a little bit more stressful than trying to remember things on the fly. So, it's ready to equip yourself with the necessary tools. Alright, we good? Yeah, alright. So then we will go into our good friend Matlab.
How many questions are there of Excel compared to Matlab? Like, is it like 50-50 on that test?
I want to say, so Professor Yaoyaoui said he's going to remove some of the questions. I asked him, or he asked me what I thought of it. I thought the exam's doable. I thought it was a fair exam, but it's a little bit on the longer side. So there's 5 main sections. The majority of the sections have 10 questions each. So if you figure in a perfect world, you know, you guys got 50 minutes for your class, but by the time he gets everything handed out, maybe make a few comments, probably 5 minutes is already gone. So that's where I figured maybe it's a little bit on the longer side. So he said he plans on removing some. So I don't have an exact number of questions, but the makeup is about half and half, I want to say. For the most part, everything looked to be multiple choice.
If it wasn't multiple choice, how would it be? Would it be like fill in the blank type thing, or
So there's some,
true or false?
okay, there's a couple fill in the blank type-ish things. The one thing that, thanks for asking, because I totally forgot to cover Solver. Let's go over Solver.
Oh yeah, that was. Well, you know that's on it.
Yeah, well, that's kind of a given. I think every class he's kind of said something about Solver. You guys did it in lab, you did it in homework, so,
In the project.
yeah, kind of sucked to not do it, I guess, you know?
Would the if statements also be, is that not?
No, that's in there. Let's go ahead and cover that too. Because that's also been in every homework in. So, good thing, I forgot, I even blew it off here then. Alright, so, let's go ahead and cover solver real quick. Be very aware of what everything is, alright, and what it's for. Set objective is your,
So,
sure, yeah, everything is pretty much gonna be referencing some kind of cell or formula. But your set objective is your ultimate goal, alright? So when you set your objective, you wanna have this as a specific end result. You know, and that's where these come in. So remember, set objective, and then your to range, which is basically either you wanna find the max minimum value, or you want that cell to be a specific value. Your set objective to be a specific value, alright? And then, this part here, by changing variable cells, okay? Understand what it means by changing variable cells. So when you put input cells, it kind of sounds like a no-brainer. Yeah, you're inputting a cell, but you're not technically inputting, all right? What you're doing is taking a cell, you're saying these particular cells here, whether it's an array of them, all right? But you're giving solver or Excel the ability to change the values inside those cells. So you're changing those variable cells, okay? Understand what your constraints are. So who wants to give a shot? What's constraint?
your limitations.
That limitation is a good word. So kind of understand when you do this, kind of what happens and why. This don't worry about. This bottom part, I don't think you have to worry about. I think it's something where you guys don't need to focus on. The most important thing is focusing on these particular sections here. Yeah? Any other questions on solving? So basically, solver is simply a tool. I mean, really, it's, you're putting in information, you're saying, I don't want to do the math, I don't want to do the work. Your computer, do the work for me. You know, and say, give me what this should be.
Would you mind if we go over one real quick, like a quick example? Just.
Yeah. I don't have like any problems on the set, like on hand, so we're just gonna kind of make stuff up.
So when it does come to the test, is it gonna be like, he's gonna give us some values and be like, what would you make the constraints? Or what would you make your variable cells?
Or would he be more like label each part of it, like what we just saw?
Yeah.
Like, would he be like label what this is? Is
Alright.
this the set objective?
I would say both, but in different ways than you guys are probably thinking. So what I have seen, alright? Alright. You kind of know if you were given a question of, you know, what would this title be? Okay, what is the name of this field? Alright? Or what's the name of this field? Given 4 different choices to identify which one it is.
Okay, that's what I was.
Alright? And you gotta remember multiple choice is always like there's 2 that are close. And there's 1 that's gonna be it, you know? So kinda know what it is, you know, what to expect. On the same note too, I would expect to say, if you see this particular setup, what would you expect to find? What would you expect your answer to be? Okay, and it's not anything difficult or complex like we've done with the projects or the homework. It'd be something that you can figure out within a minute on an exam. But still enough to where you gotta kinda know, if you set this to minimum and you had 2 values, that you're looking for the minimum of that one
Would that be
particular.
like the answer? Like, what are you looking for? The minimum or the maximum?
Yep, if it says maximum of this cell, and he's asked, out of these four choices, multiple choices, which one makes the most sense? You gotta be able to say, okay, well, if I look at this, it's asking for the maximum of this by changing this particular cell range. So you gotta be able to interpret what's being said on Solver. And more than likely, it's not gonna be anything complex here. All right, and you guys just don't have the time, and there's too many questions that just sit there, add that much complexity to it. So, Yahoo is pretty fair at the end of the day. All his classes, everyone, I've heard, I haven't had him as a professor or instructor, but everyone said really good things, all my friends, so I consider you guys in good shape with it, But, yeah, just kind of understand what's being said here. And just remember, at the end of the day, if you don't know, 25% chance, You don't always roll your guess, Just kind of see what sounds right. If you could know this, all right, if you know these two, you're already like half the battle's there, Yeah? All right. So do you still want me to do a whole example in Solver?
We go over if a little bit.
I'm gonna go over if next, but
No, that's okay.
yeah, it's just really know this top part, like kind of, you don't need to know all the intricacies of the different algorithms used, you don't need to worry about the check mark, just this, and then your constraints go in there.
Okay.
All right, so,
Nothing to it, right? As Dan would always.
I'm gonna just draw a little diagram on one of the sheets, just a tiny little label each section. This is what it looks like.
oh, that's one more thing too. All right, so if statements. All right, write down basically this, I've done enough where I just, I gotta memorize, but kind of write down what these are. So your if statement is basically creating a logic test, which is that first variable here. And logic you use in Matlab, you're gonna use it at anything where you're gonna have some kind of binary algebra. But remember all your little symbols for if. So you could have like equals, you could have greater than equal, less than equal. This is not equal to. So it's basically greater or less than any particular number you'd have here, or any number you'd have here. So let's say A4. I think there's probably one more I'm missing, but those are probably the more important ones here. So I know we haven't really covered not equal to, but it's different kind of each program. So MATLAB's gonna have a different, Python has a different, Excel has a different. But let me do a quick scenario here, all right? A, B, 16, blue, 27, all right. So in this case here, what we're gonna do is if A is equal to A4, all right, that's our logic test. So basically we're trying to find out if A is equal to A4, okay? What we could expect. So we have a true and a false statement that we need to add in or condition. All right. If it's equal to that, then we're going to make it equal to B. All right, if not, we'll just put down not equal. What did I do wrong?
You didn't put if at the beginning.
Oh, yeah. Look at that eagle eye over there. All right. So, now I do it on the next one. What should it be? All right. Now, if I do it on the next one, what should it be?
27.
You got 16. What did you say? 27. What do you guys say in the back?
16.
16 over there. Aaron, what do you say?
Hmm?
What is?
Was it equal?
So, if I go to the next one, which one do you think it'll be?
16.
All right. So 27. All right. So understand when you're doing if, what's going on? Why? If you're given a function that looks exactly like that, all right, what it's supposed to be. So the first two were not equal because if you look at the logic here, A1 or A2 was not equal to A4. Okay? But in our third case, we saw A4 was equal to A4, which, you know, the magic is happening. So our true condition applied, and so we got that 27. So why it wasn't 16 was because it wasn't conditionally locked. All right? All that's real important. You know, that's stuff you gotta know. Same thing with B3. Yeah?
Hold on, I'm a little lost. So when you like coded A2 is equal to A4, right?
Yeah.
Or like that column.
Yeah.
And then you did, what was the next statement, the B's? What was that supposed to mean?
So let me make a little bit more space here. All right. Let's stay. All right, cool. All right, so we put our if statement, then if I want to do an if logic, all right. Our first condition, which is our logic test, is we're asking, is A2 equal to A4, all right?
Is A equal to C? That's what it's saying.
Yeah, so A2 is equal to A4, so it's A equal to C, all right? In this case, we know the answer. It's a simple enough problem, we just know it just like that, okay? But if, in another case, I could be having, you know, the Lagrangian with a Hamiltonian here, all right, and make it a hell of a lot more complex, and say, yeah, you guys tell me if, just looking at it, you know? So, just to keep it simple, we just had A and C. Anyhow, our first condition is if it's true. If this statement is true, then we're going to spit out this. If this statement is false, then we're going to put out this.
Okay.
So ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what's being, how an if-then statement's working. This keeps throwing me off. Actually,
So that's why the last one's 27 because A4 is equal to A4.
exactly.
That makes sense.
But I can tell you for sure, you need to be able to do that on the exam. Kind of look at a function that's already pre-set up, investigate it, and know what the end result's going to be. And you'll probably have to do it multiple times. Yeah?
So if is on the exam.
I don't know.
If you put in the brackets for it, does it lock in the cell or no?
No, the only thing that locks in your cell is those dollar signs. So the absolute reference. And that's something you definitely need to know. Dollar signs and absolute reference, what happens, okay? So when I sit there, have an absolute reference of, let's say I want to reference this, okay, and I want to absolutely reference it. What does that mean? Is that wherever I take this, it's going to sit there, keep that cell input. So anywhere you put it on the board, the game's going to say, hey, always reference that specific cell, all right? So that's important concept to understand and know. Alright, so we gotta get the Matlab, cause now I'm a little guy in time and I totally forgot those two. Alright, first and foremost, what does Matlab stand for?
Matlab.
Besides Matlab,
Math laboratory.
no?
Mathematical, I don't know. It's something, I remember reading it, it's something with mathematical or something like that.
Not mathematical.
Math, I don't remember. Signed up for it.
What do you think it's for? Alright, Aaron?
I don't know.
Yeah. Alright, matrix laboratory. Alright, know this. Alright, you gotta understand what it is. Alright? What was probably my number one bitch about the homework? And I don't mean bitch in a bad way, I mean it in the best possible way. I forgot this was recorded. So, it's a wider general viewing. What was it? What was my biggest complaint?
Oh, the files. You didn't you would receive individual ones.
No, not so much that. That I can overlook.
Is it organization?
Notifications,
The what?
the notation, or the comments.
The comments. Alright? Always comment your code. Look, one, it makes it look good. Two, you'll look like a pro. Like you could have the nerds over on the computer science part and look at code like this guy knows what's going on. But more so, it makes my life a lot easier when I got a grade. Alright? So the comment,
Oh, that's just
let's do that. That's easier to see. Okay?
exercise 2, like separate.
Yeah, exactly. So comment, anything following this is your comment. So hello, alright? And Matlab will generally ignore everything after that. When you have 2 percentage signs, what does it mean?
Section break.
Section break, exactly, alright? Section break, title, alright? Generally speaking, it's not exactly a comment, okay? Let me stress that again, alright? If given a question, alright, which may or may not be on the exam, if it's taken out or not, okay? If you have 4 options, and 2 of the options are asking what's a title, or what's a section break, or what's a comment, know which one's the correct one, okay?
Is it 2 percentage signs before the command or one at the beginning, one at the end?
Anywhere, it's 2 percentage signs together.
Okay.
So even if you have 1, you're automatically making it a remark, okay? Or a comment.
So 1 means comment, 2 section break or title.
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter what order they're in. I mean, like when you're doing the beginning.
If you wanna put this percentage sign before this one, go right ahead.
No, that's not.
I'm sorry, I'm just,
No, you're
I
fine.
understand, man. No, so you can put either or, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
So, there's no particular order, you can have your code here, alright? Let's say my code is 10, go to 20, okay? I can sit there, put a comment here, and write, this is old, alright? Or, let's say I'm doing my programming and I'm troubleshooting and I got shit that's not working out right, or crap's not working out right. I'll comment my code temporarily, just to make this all green, and skip this skip this step, so I can sit there kind of troubleshoot where I might have other problems. So, and you can always go back and erase stuff. I mean, just a few clicks away, you know. So understand commenting, just not for the exam, for in the future in general. And if it's asked on the exam, this is a comment, this is a section break or title.
So you can write a comment, or you can do like a function and then write a comment.
but can you start a comment, end a comment, and then do a function after a comment? Or would you have to put the
Say it again.
function, like you can write a code and then do a comment.
Yeah.
But can you write a comment and then do a code?
Just like I said, so here's my code, okay? If let's say I'm writing my code and things aren't working right. Let's say I got some math up here. And this math might not be messing up my end math here, okay? So what I will do during my programming, I'll comment this code and it'll bypass this. I don't wanna erase it, because who knows, maybe I'll get down here and I'll forget about it, you know? Or I'll forget to put it back in, or
I'm talking about on the same line, like, can you start and end a comment before you start a code?
So like an Oreo cookie, kind of have your
Yeah.
comment in the middle
Yeah,
and having that fluffy white stuff.
yeah,
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
okay.
I don't think it's that smart.
So when you put the comment, you go to the next line and put the next code in, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, your thought ends. So whenever you put a comment, as soon as you push the return or the enter, you're gonna actually start your next line of code. And so new line. The only thing I don't know is do that or a comma. But I mean, it's kinda,
It's not gonna be on
it's not gonna be on the exam. Let's focus more a little bit on the exam. And that's going into stuff I'd have to double check, you know?
So I shouldn't put that on the sheets that we get for notes.
What, no, you want the comments.
Okay, that's gonna be on the exam.
Yes, comments, the section title, but going that in depth on where the comments, yeah, don't. Alright. Alright. So common commands that you're pretty much gonna use almost all the time, alright? Whoever came last week, Thursday or the prior, knows that I start out my homework usually with 2 commands. Who remembers? Anyone remembers?
name and
Besides the name and homework, be your name. So clear's one of them,
CLC.
CLC is the other, alright? Are these important commands?
Yes.
Okay, who knows what they are?
One clears the command window and one clears the variables.
Which one's which?
click.
Clear clears the variables.
Okay,
CLC clears the command window.
alright, so the technical term, alright. Clear command window, alright? And then the other one was remove item. From workspace. Alright? Clear command. Alright? I don't remember which one's which. I've done it so many times, I just, by nature, I do both. So I actually had to look it up. Now, when you're sitting there doing your studying, alright? 99 times out of 100, you're not gonna break anything in Matlab. Matlab will break itself. Alright? But if you ever have questions, go to the top. And this is one of the things like where I was saying about Excel, when you write your commands and then put the different variables, sit down with MATLAB, become good friends with it, and kind of ask, hey, what happens if I put ATAN 2? Alright? What do I need? And it's going to tell you exactly your different variables you need. It'll also tell you description. Okay? So, Professor Yao Yaoi has, no, wrong one. This particular assignment here, or lecture, is probably one you kind of want to go over and glance over and see what examples are there.
You got, do you prefer us to look over examples over others?
Yeah, there's gonna be one I'm gonna bring up here in a second. but kind of know what needs to be applied. So if you put absolute X, you know, what's gonna come up? Alright, and it also gives you the examples. So I use the help actually quite a bit. A lot of times a lot of commands, I don't remember a lot of them. So it kind of gives you an idea of, if you put absolute -5, it's gonna spit out Y5 without having to go in Matlab and reinvent the wheel. And if you really are rambunctious enough and you really wanna see it, you click on the live script and you run it there, you know? Just like that.
Oh my
So
God.
directly off the help, you can always got those options there. So looking at these here, one that I've stressed a few times already, I could say it's been stressed a lot in lecture, it's been stressed in labs, it's been stressed in homework. Out of all these functions, which one do you guys think might be on the test? Might not be on the exam? Who? Someone said something. A10 2. You guys agree? Yeah, you guys, you've seen it enough. So that's one I could probably say, if you were gonna bet that's gonna be on the exam, I would probably bet with you. Alright? Know these. Primarily, some of them aren't the same as Excel. One, I even got wrong before when I said this was on Excel, right? STD. It's not just for nurses. Alright? Or mean. What does mean do?
Average,
Average. In Excel, what do you put?
average, AVG.
Yep. So that's kind of, put those in, go to the help, kind of say, hey, when I put average, you know, it gives you exactly what it is, and kind of know what you have to put. Specifically, when we're doing Matlab notation similar to this, okay? Which is gonna segue into another very important part. Alright. So when we have, in this case, what was it, mean? Let's say A equals mean, alright, and I have, what is it, 4 by 3, alright. So if I put down 0, semicolon 1, semicolon 3, semicolon 4, okay? What will this output?
4 rows.
Correct, correct. So this is gonna be your vertical matrix. Alright, and this is gonna create a 4 by 1. Wait, 1 by 4. Yeah? Yeah, no, columns first then rows. 4 by 1. Alright? If we wrote,
I think it's rows and columns.
This is 0, 1, 1, the top first row.
yeah, so it's 3. Yeah, it is row and column. I screwed up. So 1 by 4. Alright? Final answer. Alright, so in this case, if we write down 5, 6, 7, 8, we'll put kind of commas here to help see. Okay? And this, we should see a
4 by 1.
4 by 1, and it's gonna
Horizontal.
horizontal. Whatever. 4 by 1, alright? So understand your vertical and your horizontal. What happens when you put semicolons, and in this case here commas? Here they leave blanks. You can leave blanks. I just did the commas to kind of emphasize the space there. Simply a space.
So when it's the semicolon, it's vertical, regular, comma, it's horizontal.
Yeah, so when you make an array, alright? So when you make an array, do 1, 2, 3, 4. This signifies a new row, alright? So you end up with a 2 by 2.
So with the numbers like 1 by 4, it's always row column, right? In that order?
It's always gonna be the same, so it's always, I'm more used to using symmetric matrices, so everything's kind of 3 by 3, so I have to double check. But, so in this case here, it's always gonna be,
So it'll be 1 column, 4 rows, right?
yep, exactly. So here is first column, then it goes to the next one. Second column, next one. And so on. This one has all 4 in the first column, so it's one whole row. So kind of break down those, look over the help with those. Another one with these, kind of look at some of these, know them. These here, did you guys cover these in class?
In lab.
In lab?
Yeah,
Alright,
briefly.
so know that,
So look over the random numbers.
yeah, know these here, so go to Matlab, look up rand or rand n, alright? And kind of see, if you wrote it a specific way, let's see, what's a good example? It's a little bit more. Alright, so if you wrote it like that, what you would get, let's see. Maybe this one might be better. Alright, here's a 5 by 5 matrix, so this will create a 5 by 5 matrix. Here creates a 10 by 2. So just kind of understand, but go write down what they do. Here's it already says, you know, but if you're asked a question, and then let's say it's a 10 by 20 matrix, which more than likely it's not, but you kind of understand it's going to create a matrix, 10 rows, 20 columns. All right? Then remember your matrix operators. So when you do your matrix math to things, so multiply, addition, stuff like that, kind of what's going on. Let's go over in this.
Would we have to go over Gauss?
It's on this slide. I would say, kind of know what this all means. So in this particular case, you have a random set of data times the standard deviation and the mean, okay? So who understands that? You do?
Yeah, it's like 1,500 numbers, then standard deviation 2.5 with a mean of 3. So then it'll spit out, or no, it'll spit out not 1,500 numbers, it's 500 numbers. I don't remember what the one is.
I can read the example, man. Let's put it down in like, I guess, in everyday people's terms. If you had to go, let's say, over by the Union and go by Burger King, if they still got Burger, I haven't gone over there for a long time, I don't know if they still got Burger King there, but, you know, if you had to say, yeah, I do Gaussian random numbers over in CAS, you know, and they ask, what's that?
Oh, it's giving you, I don't know how to explain it in real terms.
That's cool, you tried, that's right. Alright, so basically you're taking a random set of numbers, okay? In this case, we're gonna take a matrix of n1, n2, n dot dot dot, all the way to n1 dot 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 dot, alright? And we see here, we take our random set of numbers and we apply standard deviation. We multiply it by standard deviation. What is standard deviation?
The amount that the data differs, or like,
Yeah, so it's basically a ratio, it's a unitless number of how much it differs. So whatever your unit is of this, is that. So if there's only a variance of 1%, and let's say this number here is 100, and this one's 1, okay? When you multiply your standard deviation, okay, to this number, you're gonna end up with like 1 and then 0.01, alright? So as you can see, the standard deviation, the amount of error being applied, or amount of change is being applied at the same rate, but they're different values. The end result's different values. It applies a relative change when you multiply it. Does that make sense? Give him a love tap, man. There you go. Alright. So, know that this is important. I mean, this particular thing, so whoever asked it, this is a very important subject here. Alright, that you're gonna take your numbers, multiply it to come up with this first part here, and then you're gonna take it to the mean. So you're gonna add it to the mean. So if our average was 99 and 99, alright, let's say 99. We'd end up with two numbers being 100 and 99.01. Alright? So you're taking your random numbers, applying a relative standard deviation, so that change, and then putting it to your mean. So, alright, everyone stand up like 1 quick second. Get your blood flowing. I know, it's going a little bit longer than I want, but I want you guys to just like stand up, stretch.
I wish they did this in the 2-hour math class.
Yeah, tell them you gotta stand up. Usually they don't think about it. Alright, we'll see you later then. Alright. And I'm gonna try and hurry up, because I don't wanna tell you guys up too long.
Do we still have the lab on Wednesday?
Yes.
Yeah. Who's got lab tomorrow? So I'm gonna be doing your guys' lab tomorrow. Is that a Sam? Or no, Wednesday, my
Yeah,
bad.
that's Wednesday.
I got your guys' Wednesday lab.
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
Sam is,
Sam's gotta go to the doctor.
Oh.
So he's got an appointment that he's
That
gotta
was
keep.
Sam's time.
So I'm gonna cover for him.
That's our class.
Yeah, I forgot, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm thinking other things too.
You might get taught.
Alright. March 1st lecture, go with the Matlab, go into the help, double check. Make sure you know this and the randoms. So, this command would be a good command to know. Alright, like, pretty much how this is there, kinda understand it. Another thing is, and it's not on this one, but on your last homework, you guys did all the different formats.
Can you go up a little bit? Sorry.
More?
No, that's good.
Here? So. So remember the styles. I personally don't, this is where like, I have to go to help and I have to look at I don't remember them. The only one I remember is short G, off the top of my head, and short E. But know what short, long, short G.
So long goes to 14 decimal places, short goes to 3.
You gonna remember it like that tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay, good. More power to you. I can't. I'm not gonna remember it. I'd have it on my notes.
Oh, okay.
I'd have it like, if you wanna write it out like that, so like, let's say, what's a good one, a good example? None of them, huh?
Like what's the G and the E mean and stuff like that?
So E is your engineering format, so it's short engineering. So in this case here, if you look short E, it truncates your number to a certain value. Long E is gonna be your long amount. So there's a point where it cuts it off. Long was, like pi was real good to show for the long. But I would pretty much have what you guys had on your homework.
I don't know. I know. Format.
So short G looks like it's a few.
Long goes to 14.
So you got short G, long,
Does it?
G,
Puts it.
long itself. Just kind of what you guys had in your homework, I would just copy that. You know, and I put it on my worksheet, because that way if any question was different, then, you know, I only saw one particular version of the exam. So I'm trying to give you guys real generalized, to give you an idea of, hey, this is kind of,
You can use this on an exam for the next
so you get three,
pages.
yeah, 3 pages to write on, or 3
No,
sheets.
3 sheets. He said 3 to 4. He doesn't care or something like
Yeah,
that.
let me see.
Yep.
And then
He doesn't care how long it is either.
so like you can bring it 2 more.
Yeah, that's what he literally said he doesn't
He
care.
said the size, he said the thickness, like each
That
sheet
counts,
has
that
to be,
Oh,
like,
3
the
sheets of
thickness
notes.
like one sheet of paper.
Yeah.
So
He
you
said
got
that
3
matters. He doesn't want anybody printing like a
So,
book.
so like a canvas sheet, just like bring the whole thing.
Wait, so we trying to break sheets?
Yeah,
You have 3 sheets, that's why I'm kind of stressing, like, yeah, I would write this is what I would put, you know.
3
So-
sheets front and back. He said you can type it, write it, whatever you want.
Yeah, that's very generous of them, you know?
That's
I know.
that's only making me more nervous.
Why?
Because it's so open ended that like
I could write all my notes on those 3 sheets.
yeah.
I mean, if you need to do that, but I wouldn't put,
Useless crap.
a lot of the stuff you guys have done is overlapping. So some of the stuff, like Excel should be kind of new, but in some ways you guys did it again in lab. Certain problems you did in lab again, you also kind of went over certain things. Some of the coding logic, like logic itself is kind of the same. So if you do an if statement, in Matlab and do it in Excel, you're gonna end up with almost like the same results. Just know the differences, like where I said average, for example, is different. You know, Matlab, it's mean, and Excel, it's average.
I thought it's the geo mean.
Which one?
Geo mean?
Oh, geographical mean, is it?
Yeah,
Was it Excel or
I
Matlab?
think in Excel.
Geometric mean. I don't know if you use it.
Isn't that the same though?
No, it's a little bit different.
I don't even know if we went over that, did we?
Yeah, I don't think so. No.
Geometric mean. I'd have to look it up. I don't know off the top of my head. But I can pretty much say I wouldn't expect something like that to be on your exam. You know, it's not something I've used anytime recent. So. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's start. Log space and lin space. Make sure you understand what log space and lin space is, or what they are. A few people have problems with log space real generally. If you have a number, 2 numbers, all right. 10 is equal to 10 to the power of 1. 1,000 is equal to 10 to the power of 3. There you go, perfect. So when we write log space, your root doesn't change. Your root stays base 10 throughout the whole thing. So what log space asks for, and if you look it up, it's going to say 1, your first number, 3, and n amount of separations. So if you want 20 different numbers, you put a 20 there instead of n. If you want 1, you put 1. All right? Which I don't think will work, but it's worth a try. Lin space is different, in which it asks for your number, it asks for your start. In this case, we'd say 10, and then our end number would be 1,000. And default's, I think, 100 or 10. Anyhow, you put n amount of separations. All right. So you need to write log space in your root base and this is in decimal. Yeah? Everyone understand that? I mean, you guys did on the homework, but
Wait, so in length space, first number is the beginning, second number is the distance? Or
yeah, you can say distance, but I mean, basically your final number. So always go, if you sit down at Matlab, lint space, and if you want, you can see what's there, and I'll even give you examples to kind of help visualize it. And I would take whatever I can off this and put it in your notes if you need to. Alright, so in this case here, you have, like this one completely covers what you want. I mean, it covers, and it says here, it explains it, generates endpoints. So you have x1 your first point, x2 your second point, and it could be, I mean, technically, if you wanted to go from 1,000 to 10, you could do so. You just go in the other direction.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. 810-2, we already said. And
When we don't know the number, so there are two different types of separations. The ones that we know how many we want, and then the ones that we don't know how many. We just want this many between this and this. That's length space.
so lint space has a default 100. Yeah, I mean, both of them do the same thing. So both create an array from this number to this number and spaces. But this is done in your log domain. So log, in this case here, it's done in the log 10 domain. Okay? So it's, when you get an answer, let's say if we put 5, you're not gonna have 5 equally spaced numbers from 1 to 3.
You're gonna have 10, 100, right? Like 5 numbers of the log 10.
You're gonna have,
What did you have?
5 numbers of the log. So you're not, so.
5 numbers spaced with 3. Is that it?
Yeah, so I screwed up before. It's not, so you're not gonna have 5 numbers equally spaced 10 to 1,000. You're gonna have 5 numbers spaced between equally 1 to 3. And so you'll have, like, let's say 1.5, 2, whatever. And just an example, so you would actually have 10 to the 1/5, and then 10 to the 2. I probably should have used an easier example, but. So, all the way up to 10 to the 3rd.
Always uses the base power of 10.
Exactly. Log space is specifically for logarithmic functions. Alright, so I know like there was one of the problems with the homework, some people tried to actually use log space with trying to find out the van der Waals equation. You gotta use lint space. You had to add one more extra calculation to change from your log domain into a decimal domain.
No,
Yeah?
problem I had.
Not just you, man, I'm saying in general.
No,
But do you understand this?
yes.
Alright, how about you? Good?
Yeah, I got it.
Alright. So anyone have any specific questions about Matlab?
So length space is when you want the distance between, no, you have two numbers, x1 and x2, and you want this many of them, this many between this array.
Yeah.
But then if you know the distance between the arrays, so like, what is the one that, it's not a length space or anything, it's just like you put it in
Like colons? No,
Yeah.
yeah.
and then
It's
you know how
basically,
many it is.
yeah, so you're creating an array, there's multiple ways to create an array. So like, let's say in this case here, we had 1 broken up into 20 pieces from 1 to 10. Alright, so you would create an array, if we said this was B, our B would end up looking like 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, all the way
But it's 20 numbers.
but you have a total of 20 numbers.
I think that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, so this is what linspace does on, how can I best put it? I'm trying to think, so usually I use linspace when I know two numbers, okay? Let's say I know I have 1 to 2 pi, okay? But I don't know how many exact spots I want. And a situation where this would be important is like if I have a plot. So when you do Matlab plots, you basically add points and it creates a straight line to each point until you get something, okay? Well, when I have this array, I might make this 1,000 so I can have a smoother looking curve, you know? But I don't know this exact number until I actually get in there and kind of change it. So maybe I can accomplish it with 1,000, and then I save some computing resources. So I would sit there kind of, you know, see what's best for you. I mean, you could do this, but I generally more than likely use linspace. You know, just in general, all across the board. But know how to use it, what it does. So, I mean, just so you know, this third number, where did I have my linspace? Whatever, here. This third number is basically, yeah, your endpoints. By default, it's 100. So if you leave it blank, you're gonna get 100. If you want 1,000, put 1,000 in, you know? One more thing to kind of talk about in general. I don't know how much or to what degree this will be on the exam, but when you have a plot, okay, kind of know the breakdown of a plot, all right? You know, you already know that's a bell curve, a Gaussian curve, right? More than likely, you probably won't do anything beyond this. You know what a standard deviation is, right? Just the concept, no one's gonna ask you, hey, you know, yeah, solve exactly the standard deviation of, you know, they might ask, what's the command to do it, okay? Know that this is your scale, you know, your X scale, your Y, which is real basic, but this is gonna be your dependent, or your independent variable, this is your dependent. When you have a title, it's always wall versus floor, all right? So remember that forever. So when you do write a title on your Nobel Peace Prize dissertation, you're writing wall versus floor, not floor versus wall. All right. You have a scale. Usually when you scale, you have your axis, and then you put units in the parentheses. Remember what a trend line is, you know. Kind of know the different individual parts of your plot. And I think that should be enough to cover like 3 good pages.
Do you think there's anything else that we should like study specifically for the Matlab section?
The big thing is knowing what you're doing. How would I want that? All right. Mean and average, 810, orders the operation. Orders the operation. Know what happens. I mean, it's kind of basic math, but it's a little bit, when you see something like, so let's say 4 times 2 divided by 2, what's the number you should expect to get?
4.
Alright? So you have your, what's it called? Not Bohita. Lambdas, yeah. So you do your exponentials, parentheses, division, multiplication, subtraction, addition. So,
Thank you so much.
yeah, no problem. So make sure you know the order of operations. If statement we covered, if's a big one, so make sure you understand that.
Is
And that's Excel.
Is there an if statement in Matlab?
So technically there is, but I doubt you guys are doing it. You guys haven't gone into like logic yet. So it's up to whatever you guys, your lecture is, the 8th or 1st.
It's I don't remember. I know that we have the exam tomorrow.
So up to here, I don't know, let's see, saving your work in MATLAB. Oh, mat file, know what a mat file is?
The M file,
M file, mat file,
whatever.
what did he cover? Oh. So your M file, what it is,
That's a lot. Not just an M file,
just kinda get the justification.
some detail. What is an M file anyway? I know how to do it. I know how to do an M file, but what is an M file?
Saves the script.
That's it, right? So what else?
Let's see, mat file is,
What I thought it was.
so basically what a mat file is stores your variables. So you're gonna wanna know that. And you're gonna want what an M file is and all that. Let's see where, what I want. So basically your file, your variables are stored in the mat file. Trying to think, what else? I think that's it. Tell you what, let me take one quick glance over. You guys got a minute to. I wanna make sure I do a thorough job for you.
Okay, so
If you need to leave, feel free to, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. See you guys later. Alright, take it easy. So solver we talked about, so kinda know the breakdown of solver.
Do you wanna go to the next class? I'll just sit in the lecture hall.
Chart, the trend line, you guys remember about the equation of the trend line, right?
3:30. It's 2 hours.
Is our square gonna be on there? All that stuff?
No, but if someone gives you a trend line with an equation and they say find a point,
Is it just slope intercept? Is that what you do?
yeah, so it's real simple, it's not, but I think that's it, you know?
Okay.
It's longer than I wanted, but sorry it took so long.